Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy. Thy will be done. What I wanted to talk about this evening is a very sensitive subject to a lot of people, and it should be. It should be more sensitive than it really is. And that has to do with employers that interview candidates that are in the interviewing process of talking to candidates that just don't treat candidates very nicely. Throughout my career of since 1973, there's always been, to a certain extent, a disrespect for candidates when they're interviewing. People change interviews on them, change times on them. We've had candidates show up for interviews and the employer that was supposed to interview them wasn't there. Uh, they get interviewed by people who don't know what they're doing. And it's clear that they don't know what they're doing. And they prepare and go out of their way, work really hard to uh, to do well on interviews, get shortchanged on interviews. I even had one last week where this is an experienced employer, a guy I've worked with for 20 years. He forgot that he had an appointment with a candidate and went out to the lobby after the candidate waited for 30 minutes for him and dismissed him and told him they'd have to get it rearranged if they were going to get it rearranged at all. Well, that kind of rudeness eventually comes back to a person, either directly or indirectly. I can't tell you the number of times over the years I've had candidates that were treated disrespectfully and remembered it. Of course, they remember anytime they are treated disrespectfully. They were they were uh, treated however they were disrespectfully, and they remember it. And they not only don't buy the products that the company they interviewed with, um, they were supposed to interview with, uh, don't buy them, but they remember it and they remember how they were treated. Uh, uh, Dozens and dozens of times, I've had situations where I presented a candidate to a an employer and the employer has said, I wouldn't interview that guy if he was the last candidate on earth because I was looking for a job a few years ago or whenever, and he and his company were supposed to interview me, and it turned out to be a disaster. They were rude, they were disrespectful, they didn't give me basically the time of day. And I remember that I wouldn't go to work for that guy for all the tea in China. The lesson in this situation is to treat everybody with respect. Interviews and interviewing people and hiring people is a treacherous kind of thing. Nobody really likes doing it. Some say they do, but they don't really like doing it. And uh, they don't really know how to do it very well. We've discussed that on this program before, that they just don't know how to interview very well. And they don't like doing it. It's a treacherous thing. It you can make a real big mistake doing interviewing. So people will not relish having to do interviews. They'll postpone it, they'll put it off, they'll be cursory about it, they'll make decisions about it that just just aren't good. I remember many, many years ago, we did business with Gallo wine. And we were one of the few states in the country that you could place a sales candidate with a distillery directly. They would train them here and then move them elsewhere in the country. And Gallo Wine had a policy, and they told us, never tell a candidate why we turn them down. Just tell them that we elected to hire someone else. And they did this for a couple of years. And finally, one of us asked them, why do you insist that we just tell them you hired someone else? And they said, we don't want that candidate to walk through the aisles of a store 20 years from now and see Gallo wine and remember that they were turned down by Gallo wine for whatever reason, especially if it was negative. We want them to have a positive feeling about Gallo wine. And that idea stuck with me. This has been 20, maybe 30 years. When you go to interview candidates, if you're a hiring authority, you've got to do your best to make it a good experience for them, even if you're not going to hire them. Be very nice, be very courteous, be on time. Don't let them sit a long time. Get it right. Act like it's a high priority to you. Compliment them, even if you don't hire them. Make it a good experience, because if you don't, they'll remember it, and it may come back to directly haunt you. So don't be rude. I'd say 40, 50% of the uh, interviews that we have conducted by employers, they're rude. They just, I had one fellow say the other day that to a candidate, well, I don't know why I'm interviewing you. You don't have anything to do with what I do here. But Leroy couldn't be here, so I guess that's why I'm interviewing you. That does not make a candidate feel good. You've got to make them feel good. Now, not obviously, if you don't hire them, they're not going to feel good. But make them feel important. They've gone out of their way. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing it, and you don't have to fall all over yourself and give them gifts or anything like that. You just make it respectful. And so many times today, hiring authorities are disrespectful to candidates and uh, uh, very uh, just not very nice. You want that candidate to feel good about your company. First of all, you may end up needing to hire him, but if you don't hire him this go round, it may very well be that you'll hire him the next go round. And you want that candidate to feel good about your company and you. If you communicate that you're dismissive or you're just doing it to get it out of the way, or you're not making it feel right for the candidate, making him making your company and yourself being hospitable and nice, then you're missing a chance to make an impression on a candidate that may very well be an associate of yours somewhere down the line. So do yourself a favor, be nice. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Be respectful. Don't don't dismiss a candidate because he's looking for a job and you've got one. And sometimes that's the way it comes across. That's just the way it is. So be nice when other people aren't. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.